back to another episode of Card Talk, a podcast where we spend just a little bit of time talking about cards from Lord of the Rings card game. I'm your host, Dave Walsh.
And I'm Ted Bannock, and I love talking about cards, especially today's card. I'm really excited for, like, pretty much every episode we record, so it'll be fun.
Yeah, every episode we love talking about cards, or Ted does. Grant isn't along for the ride tonight. He's not been along for the ride for a while. He's been doing a lot of live streaming, though. He live streams and does a lot of the live streaming for us, so that's good. We got to let him sleep sometime, I guess.
Yeah. Grant and I do some live streaming, and then he regularly will live stream with other fans of the show and people around the community. So just subscribe to our channel, and you can get notifications when we go live and watch some playthroughs.
Yeah. But you know who else is with us tonight, even though Grant isn't?
In spirit and emotionally and monetarily, mostly monetarily, our patrons.
Our patrons. What Ted is trying to say, which is funny because Ted's always clarifying what I'm trying to say, but what Ted is trying to say is we are very grateful for the contributions you guys make every month to help our show continue. And, you know, we have hosting fees and we put out swag and we have contests throughout the year where we try to give away stuff to the community and just try to build the community around the show. And the way that you guys help out is always thankful. We are always thankful for the way that you guys help out. And I want to thank everybody personally, by name, every show. It's not uncomfortable yet, but we are at 23 patrons, which is a new record for us. So I will go in the order in which they joined. So I would like to thank Dominic and Joseph, who were first to the Patreon boat. So Dominic and Joseph, thank you so much for being a patron for so long.
Joseph, you're our brosif.
And
he just quit. He just
Actually, I just got the notification right now. And Dominic is the Bominic. Was that something you said at one point?
Yeah, Dominic's the Bominic.
Yeah, he is. And then shortly after Joseph and Dominic was Phil and Lewis, Sean, David, Robert, Mike, Daniel, Kyle, Jason, Justin, Russ, Matt, Joshua, Jake, James, Vardane, Carl, Niall, Joe, Peter, and Edmund. And I do want to just give another quick shout out to one of our patrons, Joshua. He belongs to the Lord of the Rings LCG players group on Facebook, which is a phenomenal resource if you're not on it. And he gave just a very nice shout out to the episode that we did with Chad Garlinghouse and Christian about the Rosie Cotton, kind of a special episode, and it was just nice that our shows are getting recognized, and it was nice to see. So, Joshua, thank you so much for making my day just a little bit brighter.
Quickly, just say for anyone who's not active on the Facebook group or isn't a part of it, it's a great community resource. It's got a lot of players asking questions, posting their playthroughs, talking strategy, giving deck advice. It's a real active place, and a great resource. So check it out if you haven't been on it yet.
And unlike Conflict at the Carrock, there are no trolls in that group at all.
Yeah, our community is, despite the trolls in Middle-earth, a relatively low number, if any anymore. In the past, yes, but
right.
They've mostly been filtered out.
Yep. So what card, Ted, are we going to be discussing today?
I think I have the remedy for today's show.
Okay. That
remedy is of the Dunedain variety.
Yeah. Okay.
Today's card is Dunedain Remedy.
What? Surprise!
I know, big shocker. Dunedain Remedy is a zero-cost lore attachment that reads, Signal, attached to a hero. Response, after Dunedain Remedy is attached to a hero, heal 1 damage on that hero. It also has an action, pay 1 resource from attached hero's resource pool to attach Dunedain Remedy to another hero.
Right.
which then you could use to trigger its response to heal 1 damage from whoever it gets attached to.
Right. And then pay the 1 resource from that. And then, so it just gets passed around the board. And so, Ted, I think you and I are going to have a little bit of disagreement on this card, because just from when we've been talking about this kind of off air or on on failed episodes that weren't recorded for whatever whatever technological reason. But like, I think that this is a pretty efficient way of healing, and I enjoy this card, especially being not in lore. But I think that, of course, it's no Warden of Healing, but I think that it is an effective way to heal damage off of, in a 4-player game. Start passing this thing around. Like, yeah, I think it's I think it's pretty good. What do you think about the card?
It's so you made a good point. It's one of its strengths is that it's not a lore card. There's very few healing cards in the game, direct healing, that are not lore. So we have this card, and then we also have the neutral card, Magic Ring, and then not counting there's contracts that heal, but those are sort of their own niche-y deck build.
Right. You kind of need to have healing on a contract. Well, with the 2 that have healing, the Grey Wanderer, like, you can't have one hero and then not have healing, because it's too hard to get going when you don't have that healing at the beginning of the game. And then same with the 4th to 300s, you need to have that kind of built-in healing when you don't have any allies. So unless you're not running any healer heroes like Glorfindel or Elrond doesn't even heal all by himself. You need something else to heal. But it's just, anyways. But I think that you kind of need those mechanically. That's not a card that you would put in the
right
deck. So anyways, so it's a little bit different when I think about healing. So, but continue what you were going to say.
No, those are great points. And this card is, you mentioned Lord Glorfindel, the hero. This ability is more on par with him. He's a 1 resource to heal 1, which I feel is a bit expensive. But this card has some great strengths. 1, I think, being its sphere. I like to run it in mono leadership decks because then I just have some form of healing. I'm not completely reliant on the other player or another player in the game healing my heroes. Or I can provide healing to someone who is on the brink of death. But it combos with a couple of cards very well, especially in terms of mitigating that cost. So the 2 cards that play great with this is the Weather Hills Watchman. He's a leadership ally that when he enters play, you get to search the top 5 cards of your deck for a signal card and put it in your hand. So this is a card that can be found with him. And the main card with this card that works the best is Rune Master.
Is that an event?
So we'd be really remiss.
What is Rune Master?
Yeah, so to go over Rune Master, which I don't think we've done the show on this yet, but it really ties to pretty much this card and all signal cards. It's a leadership attachment that goes on a ranger or a leadership hero. Mm-hmm. And its response is after a signal attachment is attached to a hero, you exhaust the attachment, and the hero with this attachment, Rune Master, gets a resource.
Right. And that's
once you
nice.
That's pretty nice. Seems okay, right? But you can see where the synergy is, right, Dave? Where, I mean, you get to pay a resource to move this signal and heal 1. And then whoever has the Rune Master attachment can exhaust it and then get a resource back. So if you keep it,
trading a resource, because you have to pay the 1 out of the hero that the hero that has it pays the 1, but then the hero that has Rune Master gets the 1 on it. So if you're running a solid leadership, it doesn't matter, but it's kind of like that. It becomes free, but you get to transfer a resource to the leadership, or what was the other Dunedain hero, whatever.
It's a ranger. Right? There's lots of rangers. There's ranger heroes in every sphere.
Right. So I mean, it's kind of like a transfer of of the of the resource, I guess, is what it is more than anything.
Yeah.
But you don't.
Yeah,
I don't,
exactly. But it mitigates that cost.
Yeah, but you don't have to play those two cards with this at all. I think you get, pretty good benefit out of this card, with running it in, just if you have one. And again, I'm playing solo. You talk about mitigating damage with the other player, relying on the other player, but I play this solo, and it can do a lot of heavy lifting, especially mid to late game when maybe your board state is set, but you start taking a lot of damage from like the boss enemy attacks or the goblin swarm that's coming out. It's just, I think this card is one of those cards that the community seems to not like, but I think the community should like more. I think that people should be posting about how good this card is. Not that it's awesome. It's not a Warden of Healing, but I think it's pretty good. I don't know.
Yeah. I have found myself playing it. The most recent deck it's gone in is my Bond of Friendship deck, because I'm looking for inexpensive cards.
Right.
And I have Wardens also in the deck because the deck is built with 4 spheres. But this is a good supplemental healing card to another healing effect that you might have in your deck.
Yeah, this is where I think when I opened, I said that we're probably going to disagree. I think that...
Is this your primary source of healing?
Like, I think it could be. Like,
because you play hobbits and they have 2 hit points. So this one card heals 50% of any of your heroes.
Right. Well, I'm running a Gwaihir Aemir Leadership Frodo deck, right? Okay. And in that deck, I need to be able to heal if I don't have out Ally Radagast, right? Ally Radagast has some built-in healing. And this card, because I have Steward of Gondor, which leadership is known for resource acceleration anyways, not that resource acceleration is going to be on Gwaihir or on Aemir, but it's it works really well. It works really well because you're already spending money on on these expensive allies. So you have resource acceleration, and you have big allies out. So to be able to heal your heroes is, I don't know, it just seems to be all right. More than the community is going to give it credit for.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think the card gets overlooked for other healing effects. I think there are better ones in the game. Warden of Healing, I think, being number 1. Aorith is up there too as far as strong healing effects, which we'll be doing some other episodes on some healing cards coming up to kind of compare this card to. But it's Spheres its strength. It's also a 0-cost leadership card. And 0-cost cards we've talked about before on some episodes, like our Cram episode. And this is a great target, too, if you get a shadow card that says discard an attachment you control. I don't mind losing a 0-cost attachment.
Right.
Between all the ones that I have in play.
Yeah.
That's just me.
Right. And I mean, this thing sticks around, right? Like, what are the other attachments? There's the magic ring. The problem with the magic ring is it's limit one per deck, right? So I mean that's a problem. That's its built-in issue. But if you think about it, Lembas, discard, right? Healing herbs, discard, get rid of it. You know? So self-preservation and this card are really the only 2 that really stick around in terms of healing.
Yeah.
And, self-preservation is 3 in lore, which you're probably going to spend your 3 resources doing something else in lore rather than playing self-preservation. And so for a 0-cost card...
only heals the character it's on.
Right.
Whereas this card can heal any hero, even a hero under another player's control. You can pass it to any hero on the table.
And it doesn't require a resource match to do that healing. It can be passed around to all 12, 14 heroes on the board if you're playing Bond of Friendship and, Sword Thingy. Like, it doesn't matter what hero it is. If it's Thalion and it's a neutral hero because you haven't gotten any side quests that have a thing, like it just needs to have one resource on the hero, and you can do it. So I really enjoy how this card is used, and I like its design. I like that, you pass it around and everybody kind of heals up, and it's good. And then of course any healing is you have to talk about Elrond. You put Elrond on the table, and now you're healing 2 with this instead of just 1, and that makes it really good. Like, I don't know, like,
yeah. No, thanks for that's a great mention. This card synergizes with Elrond too if someone else is playing it. Now it's 1 resource to heal 2 when hero Elrond triggers his response, and that also is very good. I mean, that boosts it even further, but I'd say the card is certainly playable without him, even though he of course makes it literally 100 times better, 100% better.
Yeah,
right.
Right.
Doubles its power.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think that the use case for this card is if you are not playing lore, which I know lore is a fan favorite in terms of decks to play, but if you're not playing lore and you're trying to find healing, and you're playing leadership also has some weird community vibe to it that, a lot of people don't necessarily love running leadership, so, but if you're struggling, if you have that leadership resource match and you're struggling to find healing, or you're like, you know what, I'm not even going to run healing, I'm just going to chump and just pray that my heroes don't, bite it, put the remedy in your deck. I think it's one of those things that's well worth it. And when it comes into play, it heals automatically. That's the other thing. Like, it's, you heal for 0 at the beginning. You just have to draw it. So, it's not until you want to pass it around the table do you have to start paying for it. So,
which is probably the card's biggest weakness, is that you have to draw it. Right.
Well, it's every card, right? Test of Will's biggest weakness is that you got to draw it.
Is that you have to draw it.
Right. But I don't know.
Yeah. Those are good points, and especially too, healing's hard to come by. It's really limited to the lore sphere. If we look at some other spheres, the closest thing in Spirit, David, you had mentioned off air, is Mithril Shirt, which cancels a point of damage essentially as a response.
Right.
If you look at the Tactics sphere, Tactics has a couple of damage cancel effects, such as Honor Guard, Gondorian Discipline, and there's a Doomed Event. Close call.
And then the Raven-Winged Helm.
Raven-Winged Helm, yep. Those are all effects that cancel damage. But those you need to have in hand. You need to have the card in play or in your hand before the damage is dealt. And Dunedain Remedy is actual healing that you can draw after you've assigned your archery damage. You can play this, during the planning phase next turn to take a point off.
Yeah.
Which makes it I'm strong in that regard.
Right. I was thinking of Livery of the Tower when we were talking off air. The leadership,
there was
yep. That's the one.
You were saying there was some type of spirit armor.
Yeah, the spirit that goes.
And I'm like, no, it's like a helmet, Raven-Winged Helm.
Yeah, I kept thinking Raven-Winged Helm, but because the guy in the picture has a Raven-Winged Helm, the Livery of the Tower. The guy wearing it.
Yeah. So, read what does that card do?
So it's a 0-cost attachment, and you put it on a Gondor hero, which I've always seen it on Baragon, but it says restricted, and its response is spend X resources from the attached hero's resource pool to cancel damage just dealt to the attached hero. Cancel X damage. So every resource prevents a damage. So again, 1-to-1, which I think is a fair deal. There's also the Loyal Hound, which cancels damage in the lore sphere.
In the lore sphere.
Which begs a bigger question, which you may be getting into, Ted, and I'm not sure.
Hey, the Loyal Hound doesn't beg anyone. You beg the Loyal Hound to save you.
It's
not a trick.
What is a better mechanic in the game? Healing or damage prevention? Like,
Mm.
like I know that we're getting to the, we're kind of hitting the end of this. There's not a ton to talk about in terms of Dunedain Remedy, but I think the big question that people want to know is, like, should I put in healing or should I put in damage cancellation? Because I think just about everything that can be healed, except for Bayorn, can also just cancel damage. So, like, if you get a Necromancer's Reach in the you could just cancel the damage instead of, But I guess the problem is that when you get those do 1 damage to every exhausted hero, like, there's only so much healing and so much damage cancellation you can do unless you have the Vigilant Guard out there that that allows you to do stuff, right?
Yeah. Damage cancellation, just to touch on that subject, which this could really go into all of our healing episodes. We talk about cards that heal. They both serve a different purpose because damage cancellation can save a hero from death, where healing can't always do that. If you get attacked and the shadow card boosts the enemy's attack where you are taking 5 damage and you only have 4 hit points, you have to cancel 2 of that damage to survive it. And there are many instances where that comes up, and having cards like the Livery of the Tower, Mithril Shirts,
that's where the Honor Guard
and Honor Guard,
the Valor
those are really absolutely. So those are great cards and will actually save your hero from death. Where healing and this card, Dunedain Remedy, won't always do. But I think to sustain a long playable game, you have to manage damage. Right. And Dunedain Remedy is just a tool in that box.
And we talk about bomb cards that go off, like, the player cards, but also the deck has bomb cards. So, how often is a bomb card in the encounter deck going to trigger and cause us to have to, cancel damage every single turn or something like that? You can neutralize archery with healing, but you can also neutralize archery with damage cancellation. So, so I agree. It's kind of like, damage cancellation or healing. I guess it just depends on, restricted slots and your deck building options there at that point,
Yeah. So it depends on, solo, multiplayer. It depends on the scenario, because some scenarios are heavy on damage and you need to really muscle through them. You need to have a Lore, Sphere, and Elrond and some really strong healing cards. Right. But this card can very easily supplement those, and in most other scenarios, it can get you through. I mentioned my Bond of Leadership deck too. A lot of times I have, you have a 4th hero generating your resources, so I tend to have that one. I tend to have a resource kicking around from somebody, right? Turn to turn, to pay for this and keep my heroes at a reasonably healthy status.
Right. Well, my suggestion is for this card, for the people who don't love it, is to, when you're playing not lore, is to put this card up off to the side in your play area, and then, like, when you think you need to heal, put it on, like, one of your heroes, and just to see how it works, and then you can just play it and see what the deal is, and then see if you really like it. And I think that more times than not, you're going to like it because you're going to need the healing. So, but that's me, I just, and to have a non-lore healing card is pretty good.
Yeah, and there's plenty of ways to generate resources, to help pay for this card. And like you said, leadership's got some of that, and even in other spheres, you can generate resources but not have healing, like in tactics. You can have Hero Moblung generating your resources, and then you can spend those resources healing your heroes from doing combat because you're engaging enemies.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem with this is that it doesn't heal a lot of. You have to actually transfer it from one card to the next in order for it to work. So like if
Right.
I have Gandalf and Gandalf has taken 4 damage, and then I have Spirit Dyne who hasn't taken any damage, like, you know, it doesn't do all 4 of that damage. You can't just pay 4 and heal 4 damage. You have to actually, move it around and to get that. So you need to have like a roughly even distribution of damage on your heroes in order for this to really be the most effective. So that's to me the biggest weakness of the card, other than you have to draw it.
Yeah. Of course. Yeah, that's a good point too, is sometimes the way you want to move it around is not opportune, depending on how damage got dealt out to your heroes.
Right.
So that can be sometimes you have to spend extra resources to heal if you're in a dire need. But it's better than a dead hero, so I'd say it's worth it.
It's better than a dead hero. Well, on that, Ted, do you think we should ring this card? Should we ring this
Let's
card?
Let's ring Dunedain Remedy, absolutely.
Yeah. So for anybody who doesn't know or has never tuned into a show, this is your first show, just know that we have a highly scientific yet arbitrary system. I don't know, is it highly arbitrary and scientific, or is it highly scientific yet arbitrary?
Scientific and arbitrary.
It's whatever it is. It's scientific
the latter.
and I don't know, but it's scientific and arbitrary, and one of those is highly, and it changes from episode to episode. And anyways, we ring cards on a scale from 1 to 10, where 1 is the best card in the game, or the one card to rule them all, and a 10 means that we throw that card back into the fiery chasm from whence it came. It's not a very good card at all. So, Ted, you get the honors.
Yeah. In general, I tend not to give cards too poor ratings on a scale of 1 to 10. And in terms of healing, this card is not as efficient as I'd like it to be, but it has a lot of strengths to it. It has a lot of strengths, being an attachment that you can move around, that all you need is a single leadership hero to play, and you're guaranteed to play it the turn you draw it because it costs nothing and will heal you 1 right away. So because of that, I'm going to give it a 5. It's middle of the pack. There's better ways to heal, but you'd be really surprised at how often this card will save you, how much damage it'll heal at the times you need it to heal. How about you, David?
Right. So for me, I actually agree with a lot of that. I think that this sort of card is really nice because it has a lot less of the requirements than maybe not a lot less, but like Warden of Healing. In order to really jack up the Warden of Healing, you need a lot of lore resources. This doesn't have the resource requirement. Like, you can use any resources on any hero. So, I think that that's important when you're thinking about healing and having this travel around the table. And I think that was like design genius in order for that to happen. So I think that this card being in leadership makes it better. Healing in general is always going to be higher on my list anyways, because I think it's very important mechanic to build into the deck. I just think you need to have healing. You need to be able to have a way to heal people for the most part. So whether that's contract or whether it's this card or whether it's Word of Healing, like, you have to be able to build healing into a deck, whether it's solo or multiplayer. So because of all that, I am going to say that this card is a 4. It's better than average, and that's probably because healing is better than average also. So, but it's definitely not a Warden of Healing or an Eorith, but I think it's maybe even better than self-preservation. So, yeah, so that's where I fall with that. So there you have it. Ted and I talking about Dunedain Remedy, and feel free to join us again as we talk about more cards in the game. Have a great day, everybody.
Do you love the content? Here's what you can do to stay connected. Become a patron. The money collected through Patreon goes into keeping the lights on here at the podcast. We love our patrons, and you can join at many different levels. Visit patreon.com/cardtalk2018. You can subscribe to us, whether you're watching our YouTube channel or you're listening to us in your favorite podcatcher. Hit the subscribe button to get notifications of all our new episodes. Didn't know we were an audio podcast? Find us by searching Card Talk to get access to our 120 plus regular episodes. Didn't know we were a video channel? Find us by searching Card Talk LOTR LCG on YouTube. And there you can find not only our regular episodes, but you can find our bonus playthroughs and other content related to the game. Want to get a hold of Ted, Grant, or myself? Feel free to email the podcast at cardtalk2018@gmail.com.